All right. Here are the directions for this assignment. I'm going to pull them over into a Word document. In this assignment, you will prepare a lecture suitable for delivery to an undergrad course in psychology on the physiological changes that are known to occur when emotions appear. So the physiological change that are known to occur when emotions appear. In your lecture, your task will be to explain these changes and how they relate to 3 different theories. As part of your lecture, be sure to address the following. So, briefly review James's proposed sequence of experiencing emotional events. Second, review post-Jamesian theories, including Cannon-Bard and the 2-factor theory of emotion. Okay, these should be all 3 theories. As you're doing that, make sure that you're doing these things. Explain the physiological responses involved in emotions, including the autonomic nervous system. So at the very minimum, you need to make sure that you cover the autonomic nervous system and hormones. You want to also have a section where you examine the relation between physiological changes and feelings of emotion. I think that was pretty clear from up here. And you want to make sure that for each topic or theory that you explain, that you're covering it, you're describing it, you're explaining the theory, James's, and then the Cannon-Bard and the 2-factor theory. You want to have a section called "How do we know this?", which summarizes 1 or 2 of the main research findings that supports the topic or theory. So at this point, I'm thinking you'd have James sequence, and so here we want to all right, and so here we're going to have summary with citations. And so I'm seeing sort of 6 sections so far. However, so you're going to summarize each theory And then after each theory, you're going to include a section that says, how do we know this? There are two other sections that we don't need to forget. The first and second ones. And then all right, so it would be these main headers with sort of a 1, 2, 3 after. All right, and then it's supposed to be in some sort of lecture format. So support your lecture with the activity readings from the course text. Okay, so this is the content that you're supposed to read each week. In addition to these specified resources, other appropriate scholarly resources may be included, with minimum of 2 peer-reviewed articles that have been published in the past 5 years. Your lecture should be scholarly but engaging, more conversational perhaps. In making your lecture engaging, you may depart from usual writing form and organization and choose to use anecdotes, humor, or other speaking tools, as you would in a classroom, face-to-face, for instance. Be sure to cite your sources appropriately in the print version of the lecture that you submit. For grading purposes, you will submit a transcript of the lecture you would present. I would organize it as I've shown you here. Along with visual aids that you would use to enhance the presentation. In addition, however, you may present an audio file of your lecture so that your instructor can give you ungraded feedback on your lecture style. Again, that would be an extra that you don't have to do. And here are some ways you can do it. You can record your lecture, upload it to the course room in MP3 format. You can do this with a lot of smartphones these days. Audacity is another program that you can use on a PC. I forget if it works on a Mac, but Mac has, and iPhones have usually GarageBand. Length 5 to 7 pages, not including title and reference pages. Your lecture should demonstrate thoughtful consideration of the ideas and concepts presented in the course by providing new thoughts and insights related directly to this topic. So here's how I always look at this. I look for, did you just barely meet the page minimum? That's not a good sign in terms of thoughtful consideration. If you got 8 pages or 9 pages instead of 7, then that shows me you went above and beyond, as long as it's not fluff. You want to show that you're really engaging in the material, that you're instead of just 2 citations, use 5, you really just want to show I spent the time, sat in the chair, I did the work, and I really went with a mastery approach instead of the performance approach, just getting it done. Your response should reflect scholarly writing and current APA standards, so you want to use APA 7th edition manual. And be sure to adhere to the academic integrity policy. So if you copy and paste anything from an article, be sure to paraphrase it into your own words, so that it is not flagged by a Turnitin system. Now, Turnitin will flag exact citations from your reference sections, things like that, but we don't count those against you because those are meant to match. Upload your document, so forth. So the main things is when you present this information, you might, I would suggest, have an introduction. And these three things here would be with regard to James' sequence, James's theory. Cannon-Bard theory do the same three things, but with regard to Cannon-Barr. Then again, a third time, the two-factor theory. And then I would suggest some sort of conclude with compare or contrast of the three and take home messages. That is my suggestion. It's not in the instructions, but that's generally how we do a lecture. So you want to put I would organize your thoughts in this way, making sure that you have the 1, 2, 3 on each theory, and understand that this third research finding should not be one of the main ones that you just discussed when you're talking about the theory. So have it be a different, maybe a more recent research article that discusses that, where it supports the validity of the theory. And so at minimum, you're going to have it, although it says, what does it say? Use the activity readings and then other appropriate resources with a minimum of 2 peer-reviewed articles in the past 5 years. So I would use a past 5-year article here and here and here, at least one. And these can be should have put that up there. Okay, and remember that throughout you're going to cite sources because you're going to have a written version of your lecture. Now, if you do the audio version as well, you don't need to speak the in-text citations out loud. But hopefully I've clarified for you how this point here, the third thing, is different from the summary in general. This is sort of top level meta view, and this is 1 to 2 articles that support the validity of the theory, not just explaining the theory. This should be supporting the validity of the theory. In other words, saying the theory works. Other articles may say the theory doesn't work. You're not focusing on those articles right now. So you could include them, but I would definitely include one that supports the validity, because that's what's asked. So I hope that made that more clear. Thank you.